So I've actually been here in Egypt for quite some time. When I first got here, I was interrogated pretty aggressively at the airport. I don't want to start the video off so negatively, so I'll tell that story at the end of the video. So stick around and remind me to tell you guys. Okay, so it seems like maybe you guys did have to remind me, after all. But wait, you think I'm gonna start a video without it? What's cooking, guys? It's a Salukie. So to tell you the story, I have to go all the way back to Buenos Aires, Argentina. So you can understand how tired I was when all of this bullshit occurred. So I booked a flight from Buenos Aires to Cairo with a layover in Paris. That's a 13-hour flight from Buenos Aires to Paris, a 12-hour layover in Paris, and then 4.5 hours to Cairo. Paris is one of those cities which, as a traveler, I would have always loved to explore. I always wanted to see the Eiffel Tower and all that, but it's also very expensive. It's constantly battling with Tel Aviv, Israel, for the title of the most expensive city in the world. So when I saw that I had a chance to do a 12-hour layover in Paris, it seemed like an opportunity I could not refuse, because why not? You get to walk around the city basically for free for 12 hours. So I boarded the Boeing 787-9 in Buenos Aires, Argentina at 1:40 p.m. and 13 hours later, I arrived in Paris. I got to Charles de Gaulle Airport at 7:40 a.m. in Paris, needless to say without much sleep, but that way I got to spend the entire day enjoying Paris. And that I did, indeed I did. I went to see the Eiffel Tower, I walked around a lot, got to experience the streets. A few words about Paris, since I already mentioned it. So Paris is one of those cities that I would love one day to spend more time in, maybe even live in, get to explore properly for over 12 hours, but it is incredibly expensive. It's much like London, New York, a cosmopolitan city full of opportunities, full of people from all walks of life, and incredibly expensive and unsustainable financially. Anyway, I had to reintroduce myself to Charles de Gaulle Airport at 7:25 p.m. where I boarded a Boeing 777-200 and 4.5 hours later landed in Cairo, Egypt at 11:40 p.m. But little did I know that I would not get to leave that said airport in Cairo for another couple of hours. I think it was about 2-3 p.m. when they finally left me alone. So I came to Cairo knowing, I was aware that things can go very bad very quick when I land there. I'd watched a couple of fellow YouTubers' videos before and seen what it's actually like and how they interrogate people and how they can arbitrarily confiscate your equipment, whether it's drones, which are actually forbidden in the country, or whether it's just your cameras and hard drives. I actually even backed up my hard drives before going there. I also even booked a flight for out of Cairo for 3 days later, which was refundable, of course, so that I could say, I'm coming for 3 days to Cairo, I want to see the pyramids and get out. And my cameras are only for me, for my memories. As soon as I landed, a couple of men in uniform didn't let me pass to passport control, and my heart sank. But actually, that time, it wasn't about interrogating me. They told me I have to go and pay for the $25 visa on arrival, because when you arrive, you have to pay for your visa. That's how it works in many countries in Africa, actually. And so I did. I went, I paid for the visa. I was super happy that everything is going so smoothly. I went through passport control, they stamped me in, they stamped my passport. Very relieved. Now all I had to do was fetch my bag, because it was actually a carry-on bag, but I sent it off so I don't have to carry it all over Paris for 12 hours. So just as I thought that everything couldn't be going smoother, I went to fetch my bag, and boom, 2 men who were not in uniform actually, they were wearing jeans and a shirt, stopped me and showed me their police badge. And they said, come with us. And then my heart sank again. That was the moment I knew I was fucked. So I pretended to not speak any Arabic at all, because they were speaking to me in Arabic. I didn't want them to be more suspicious, and let alone, God forbid, hear my Palestinian dialect, my Shami, Arabi Shami, or to hear an Israeli accent to make matters worse. So they brought over a saleswoman that speaks perfect English to translate between us. I noticed very quickly that all of her questions were those carefully crafted by a salesperson, scripted. more or less, because that's how they do it. They kind of write down the questions that you ask the customer in order to get an idea of how long they're staying, of what you may sell them according to the time that they'll be there. So I said I'm staying 3 days. She said, oh, we actually have a tour company. I could take you to the pyramids. And I kept insisting that I like to do these things by myself. But in any case, she saw that I was very exasperated and very exhausted, and that I just wanted the whole ordeal to be over. I was looking at the floor like a recently scolded child, like this. So she noticed my distressed manner, which I was doing honestly half consciously and half subconsciously, because it was a long ass day. And she asked me, Ido, what's wrong? She obviously remembered my name already, because that is the very basic way, most basic way of building rapport, which means a close, harmonious relationship with a customer. So she asked me what's wrong. I insisted, nothing, kept looking at the floor. She asked me again, trying to build a connection. And I said, they're doing this because I'm Israeli, right? Because my Romanian passport says born in Israel, they're going to interrogate me. And she said, no, not at all. It's not because you're Israeli. It's because you came from Argentina. And then she explained how they search and interrogate pretty much everybody that came from a Latin American country. So basically what she was saying is, we're being racist to you because you're from Latin America, not because you're from Israel this time. And actually this was confirmed by every Latin American that I met in Cairo at the time. Everybody told me that they were searched or heavily interrogated, whether they came with a different passport, because many people have an Italian and Argentinian passport, for example, and they found out that they were originally from Latin America, or whether they came from Latin America. Halfway through saying, it's because I'm from Israel, I started crying. I really started crying tears. I burst out. Half of it was consciously, and half of it was subconsciously, to be honest, because I noticed that all of her questions were fake. She was not actually trying to be friendly with me, she was trying to sell me things. So I tried to reach her empathy in any way possible. And I still don't know to this day if I started crying because it was such a long and exhausting day, and I couldn't imagine spending a day, whether it's arrested or being searched for many hours, or whether I actually cried because I broke down. But that's how the story goes. That's what happened. And indeed it worked. I saw her expression change as I started crying, as she saw a person breaking down in front of her. And essentially, she saved me. She went hand in hand, not literally, but she went hand in hand with me to the two policemen. She explained everything. I think she said a couple of things for them to go easy on me. And indeed they did. They were all of a sudden, their faces converted from serious to smiley. They did search me after all, but when they searched me, they did it quickly, not more than half an hour. And they even saw that I had mate from Argentina. I had yerba mate, the herbs of mate, and that looks, it's a pretty bad look when people are searching your bag because it's spread. Jesus, you scared me. Because it's spread all over, all of my stuff, and it's a green tea herb. If you don't know what mate is, just watch any of my videos from Argentina. Not a good look. And I was joking around with them. I said, no, this isn't marijuana, it's just mate, it's a tea from Argentina. And you know, I brought it over because I wanted to share some of that culture with the Egyptians that I will meet, and also because I like mate. After the search, the two policemen, and I believe another one joined when they searched me, left me alone and welcomed me to Egypt. But then I was introduced to Mrs. Saleswoman's version of hell, where she took me with my bags. She said, do you need any help with the bags? No, come sit in my office. They always want you to sit down, salespeople. And then she started bombarding me with offers which are completely ludicrous. For example, she wanted me to go to Alexandria for $130 and claimed that it was a good price. Now, just for a frame of reference, I did go to Alexandria by myself, and the train cost about $2 each way. There was this really cordial, smiley, big black dude that I locked eyes with earlier, and we talked for a bit, we chatted, and I saw how her colleague was giving them the same treatment, him and his wife. He was just not leaving them alone. Her colleague was a man wearing a long button-down shirt as well, And I saw how he kept offering them things, and they said the same thing, that they came from a very long flight, because I believe they also did a layover in Paris for 12 hours and they came from the States. And I saw exactly where this is going. So she sat me down, she opened her little book, she showed me pictures of Alexandria and of the pyramids and all of the tourist attractions that she was trying to sell me. And I said, I do not have patience for this. Even though you saved me, I really want to get the hell out of here. But I had to be grateful in some way because, hey, once again, she saved me. So what I did, I don't recall if it was $10 or $20, but I took some money discreetly so that her colleague will not see, out of my wallet, or out of this actually, and I put it inside the book. And I closed the book and I said, here, take this. No commission at all. I mean, this goes directly to your pocket. You don't have to pay commission. Just leave me alone, please, because I really the only thing I want in this life is to sleep. And then I had to buy her overpriced taxi service. It was about $40 to get to my hostel, because there was no escape, honestly. And also, she did genuinely make me feel bad after having saved me. So I was like, at least let her bosses be happy with her that she managed to make some sort of a sale, hey? So I paid about $40 for a stupid taxi. And of course, when we got to the hostel, the taxi driver insisted on a tip, wouldn't leave me alone, was super aggressive. So I ended up giving him a $10 note, which is a lot of money for me, by the way. And I demanded change, because that's an exorbitant amount of money for a tip, he became very aggressive. He didn't want to give me any change. He said, no, this is nothing. So I just said, whatever, I'm too tired to deal with this shit. And then I went to the hostel, finally found the hostel, because it was like 4 a.m. in Cairo. There was nobody there. I didn't have any internet, so I managed to ask some dude in some Arabic where the hostel is. Oh look, there's some water here. In Egypt, you need a key to use the lift. If you've seen in my previous video, you kind of have to push it on the sensor, because not anybody can use any lift. So I ended up having to walk 8 floors, feeling violated, with the weight of that day on my shoulders and of my luggage. And I arrived in the hostel wanting to sleep for an eternity. So needless to say, I hadn't the warmest of welcomes to Egypt. But why am I telling you this? Well, I feel like I have a certain sense of responsibility here for the people watching my videos. You know how much I love Latin America, if you've seen my videos from there. Or if you haven't, now you know, because I told you. And I want people to know what they're going to maybe have to face, or likely have to face, if they do decide to go to Egypt. I will not tell you do or do not go to Egypt. I want you to make the decision. Because one day, when your grandchildren that know that grandpa was a wanderer will ask you why you did end up not going to Egypt, then you will say it's because, well, you will probably not remember, but it will be because of some guy who said on a YouTube video what happened to him when he did. Make the decision yourself, and then you will be on either side of the decision. And on either side of the decision, there will be something to love, like the mesmerizing, inexplicable beauty of the pyramids, and something to dread, like an experience of the nature of what I had with the police. But at least the decision will be yours. I'm sorry for my lack of t-shirt. It's because all of my stuff is in the laundry right now. But I just wanted to tell you that a big portion of my videos are getting demonetized, which means that I don't make any money. So if you'd like to support my channel, I have a Patreon where you can make small donations and get access to exclusive content, such as a podcast. In my podcast, in my latest episode, I hosted a man called Davide.
It was the coldest region of the world, in the coldest time of the year, coldest region of the world, apart from Antarctica, obviously, the coldest region in the northern hemisphere, so to speak. And it was like minus 45. Long story short, I was out in the street filming around. I think it was around 4 o'clock. I had arranged with a guy to come and pick me up at 5, because they thought that 1 hour was more than enough to go and film around stuff. And 1 hour was definitely more than enough. But what I hadn't taken into consideration is that 1 hour was way too much to be out in the cold. I think it was around 4:30 that I was done with filming my footage and stuff. And there was no signal in that place. And even if there was signal, there's no way that my phone would work in those temperatures. You try and turn it on, it doesn't turn on. That's what usually happens in -40. I still had half an hour before the taxi driver would come. So I just knocked off the door of one house and nobody would answer. So I was like, oh, what the fuck am I gonna do? I tried and opened the door anyway, and it opened.
You walked into a random house and you stayed there because it was that cold?
Yeah, for like half an hour until the taxi driver came.
Wow.
He's a friend of mine that has a YouTube channel where he travels around the former Soviet Union mostly. So if you'd like to see the full video, please support the channel on Patreon and then you will have access to it. And consequently, you will be enabling the longevity of my channel. So thanks for watching, and I love you.